The check was signed with a flourish, my bank account gutted in one swipe. I just funded a dream vacation for my wife's entire family, and they were already whining before the plane touched down. It was supposed to be the trip of a lifetime. A week in Maui, all expenses paid. Flights, a 5-star resort, gourmet meals, snorkeling tours, the works. I'd spent months planning, imagining their faces lighting up with gratitude. My wife, Sarah, had been over the moon when I proposed the idea. Her parents, Tom and Linda, hadn't had a real vacation in years. Her sister, Emily, and her husband, Mark, were drowning in debt with 2 kids, Lily and Ethan, who'd never seen the ocean. I wanted to give them something unforgettable, a gesture to bind us closer as a family. I'm no millionaire, but I'd saved diligently, scrimping on my own luxuries to make this happen. The total cost? A cool $25,000. Worth every penny, I thought, for the joy it would bring. The trouble started at the airport. Tom, a retired mechanic with a perpetual frown, grumbled about the early flight time. Who books a 6 a.m. flight? My back's killing me already, he muttered, ignoring the fact that I'd chosen it to maximize their beach time. Linda, his wife, chimed in, complaining about the lack of first-class seats. I thought you said this was a luxury trip, she sniffed, eyeing my carry-on like it held the answers to her comfort. Emily, meanwhile, was scrolling her phone, barely acknowledging me, while Mark wrestled with the kids over stuffed bags, muttering about how this better be worth it. Sarah squeezed my hand, her smile apologetic. I brushed it off. They're just tired, I told myself. It'll get better. It didn't. At the resort, a sprawling paradise with palm trees swaying against turquoise waves, the complaints escalated. The check-in process was too slow for Linda, who sighed dramatically as the staff handed out welcome leis. The kids, Lily and Ethan, aged 8 and 10, whined about the lack of a waterslide, ignoring the infinity pool sparkling before them. Emily snapped at a waiter for bringing her the wrong cocktail, her voice sharp enough to make nearby guests glance over. Mark, who I'd hoped might be an ally, spent his time comparing the resort unfavorably to a cruise he'd taken a decade ago. That ship had better food, he said, pushing away a plate of fresh mahi-mahi like it was fast food. I tried to stay positive. I organized a group snorkeling trip, picturing us all laughing together in the coral reefs. Instead, Tom refused to go, claiming the water was too cold. It was 78 degrees. Linda said the boat looked rickety, despite it being a state-of-the-art catamaran. Emily spent the entire outing taking selfies, barely glancing at the vibrant fish below, while Mark complained about the sunscreen's smell. The kids at least seemed to enjoy it, but even they bickered over who got the better snorkel mask. Sarah, sensing my frustration, whispered, "They're just not used to this kind of thing. Give them time." I nodded, but my patience was fraying. By day 3, I was a pressure cooker ready to blow. The breaking point came at dinner, a beachside feast with a Hawaiian band playing softly in the background. I'd arranged for a private table, complete with a custom menu and a cake for Lily's upcoming birthday. The setting was perfect, the kind of scene you'd see on a postcard. But Tom pushed his plate away, declaring the pork too exotic. Linda agreed, saying she'd rather have had steak. Emily scrolled through her phone, barely touching her food, while Mark launched into a tirade about how the resort's Wi-Fi was unacceptable. The kids, bored, started flicking food at each other. I sat there, my fork frozen midair, as their voices blended into a cacophony of ingratitude. Sarah's eyes met mine, pleading for calm, but something inside me snapped. I stood, my chair scraping loudly against the wooden deck. "Do you have any idea what this trip cost?" I said, my voice low but shaking. The table went silent. "I paid for every single thing here, your flights, your rooms, your food, your damn snorkeling gear. I did this because I thought it would make you happy, but all you've done is complain." Tom's mouth opened, then closed. Linda looked away, her cheeks flushing. Emily finally put her phone down, her eyes wide. Mark coughed, suddenly interested in his plate. The kids stared, confused. I didn't stop. "I'm not your personal ATM. I'm not here to fund your entitlement. If you can't appreciate this, maybe you don't deserve it." The words hung in the air, heavy and final. Sarah reached for my hand, but I pulled away, storming off toward the beach. The waves crashed in rhythm with my pounding heart. I'd never felt so used, so invisible. The next morning I woke to a quiet knock on my door. It was Tom, his usual scowl softened. "Can we talk?" he asked. I nodded, wary. He sat on the balcony looking out at the ocean. "I didn't realize how much you put into this," he said, his voice gruff. "Linda and we've been struggling since I retired. We're not used to this kind of thing. I guess we took it out on you." It wasn't an apology, not exactly, but it was the closest I'd ever heard from him. Linda joined us, her eyes red. "We're sorry," she said simply. "We didn't mean to seem ungrateful." Emily and Mark were next. Emily, usually so aloof, looked genuinely ashamed. "I got caught up in my own head," she admitted. "I'm not used to someone doing something this big for us." Mark nodded, adding, "We've been stressed about money. I think we forgot how to just enjoy." The kids, oblivious to the tension, ran up to hug me, thanking me for the cool fish they'd seen snorkeling. For the first time I felt a flicker of hope. Sarah, who'd been quietly watching, pulled me aside. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, tears in her eyes. "I should have spoken up sooner. I didn't realize how much their complaints were hurting you." I hugged her, the weight of the past few days lifting slightly. "I just wanted us to be a family," I said. She nodded, squeezing my hand. "We are. We'll get there." The rest of the trip wasn't perfect, but it was better. Tom and Linda started saying thank you more often, even if it was awkward. Emily put her phone away during meals, engaging in actual conversations. Mark offered to help with the kids, who began to enjoy the little moments like building sandcastles or chasing crabs. I wasn't naive enough to think one outburst had fixed everything, but it had shifted something. They were trying, and that was enough for now. On the last day, as we packed to leave, I found a note slipped under my door. It was from Lily, scrawled in crayon. "Thank you for the best trip ever." I smiled, tucking it into my pocket. Maybe it hadn't been the dream vacation I'd envisioned, but it was a start. Families, I realized, are messy. Gratitude isn't always immediate, and generosity doesn't guarantee appreciation. But sometimes a single moment of honesty can bridge the gap. As we boarded the plane home, I felt lighter. Not because they'd suddenly become perfect, but because I'd spoken my truth. I'd drawn a line, and they'd respected it. That, at least, was progress. What do you think? Was I too harsh, or did they need the wake-up call? Share your thoughts on gratitude, family, and where the line should be drawn when generosity meets entitlement.